The honor of serving as student commencement speaker is awarded by the graduates themselves and by the university faculty. Representing the class of 2017, I am pleased to introduce Ms. Sarah Clark. Sarah grew up in the beautiful San Juan Islands of Washington, veritable Eden up there, with her parents and older sister. The course of her life changed when she met the Lord Jesus at the age of 12, and she has been on a journey of seeking him ever since. Sarah describes her time at Northwest University as having been taken up by two worlds, one in science and one in student leadership. Sarah served as student government chief of staff her sophomore year and as a resident assistant for the past 2 years. At the beginning of her junior year, Sarah joined the first cohort of research students in Dr. Tracy Delgado's research program, studying how viruses cause cancer, and has been working in that lab ever since. As a result of engaging in both student leadership and science, Sarah's time at Northwest has been a journey discovering the intersection of faith and science. Sarah will begin a PhD program in virology at Harvard Medical School this fall, truly a world elsewhere, and looks forward to integrating both the love of serving others and the love of science into her future career. Please join me in pride welcoming Sarah Clark.
4 years ago, when I arrived at Northwest University, I had no idea that a few months post-graduation, I'd be headed off to Harvard Medical School to begin a PhD studying virology. In all honesty, I didn't even know what the word virology meant, which just goes to show that I and our class as a whole could not have made it these last few years without the help of all of you here. I'd like to thank the university and Dr. Castleberry for all that you've done in the last few years and for this incredible opportunity to speak at commencement. Thank you to our parents for your commitment since the beginning. Mom and Dad, you never limited me, not once. Thank you. Thank you to our mentors who have dreamed with us and believed in us. Andy Hall, Kendra Phillips, Tristan Norris, you three have changed my life. Thank you for the abundance of Kleenex you offered me, the listening ears you gave me, and the incredible wisdom you imparted me. Thank you to our professors who were the real MVPs these last few years. To Tracy Delgado, my wise and intelligent and compassionate professor who I now get to call my friend. I would literally not be where I am today without you. I could never thank you enough. And thank you to our friends who were the main characters in each of our stories. To my Res Life teams, Josh, Alina, Alec, Taylor, Caleb, I love you guys. And to my forever roommate, Janelle Kono, there will never be enough words, my sweet friend. Thank you for jumping in the pool with me since day one. Now, when I got asked to be the commencement speaker at the end of February, I joked that I would just read the lyrics to Hannah Montana's song, Nobody's Perfect. As I was struggling to survive my last semester, I felt the lyrics, nobody's perfect, you live and you learn it, perfectly described our pursuit to pass our classes these last 4 years. But in all seriousness, I had a really difficult time writing this speech. I wanted to write something that characterized the incredible individuals in this graduating class. I wanted to speak to the intentionality of Isaiah Lockett, who knows the names of every single individual on this campus. I wanted to describe the kindness of Owen Bostrom, who sees and cares about people genuinely. I wanted to show the heart of Alec Bailey, who spends his days trying to make people smile. This class has and will continue to deeply impact those around them as they continue to love boldly in this world. Now, fresh out of high school, I showed up at Northwest University, probably with more confidence than any freshman should ever have. I loved everything about being a part of this community. I went to every orientation event in my bright yellow shirt. I jumped in the lake far too many times and definitely still do, and didn't sleep even in the slightest during Screaming Eagles Week. I embraced everything this community had to offer with a ferocity that, looking back now, was probably incredibly comical to every single upperclassman that encountered me. As freshman year transitioned to year 2, I quickly got involved in student leadership. serving as student government treasurer my sophomore year, and then the last 2 years as a resident assistant. My time as an RA has been one of the hardest roles I've ever taken on. In these last 2 years, I've had the privilege to walk alongside over 60 women, to hear their stories, to celebrate with them in their triumphs, and to cry with them in their hardships. I very quickly learned some hard truths. That rarely would I have the right answer, that things sometimes didn't get better, and that people go through some incredibly difficult things. But the most important thing I learned is that it was not my job to come up with an answer or a fix for suffering. Rather, my role was to sit with my people in their mess and to love them deeply in the midst of it. This year, I was the RA to an incredible group of women on Beatty 300. My girls brought me so much joy. They were fierce and loyal and inclusive and kind. Laughter filled our hall on the daily. But in the midst of the joy-filled times, the girls on Beatty 300 also experienced deep sorrow. I was shocked this year to hear story after story of suffering from the girls on my floor. Family conflict, assault, struggles of faith, depression, stories of pain and sorrow walked in and out of my room. But instead of too many stories of pain erupting in chaos, something incredible happened on my floor. The women on Beatty 300 became co-sufferers. They offered their broken selves to one another, and in doing so, they became the hands and feet of Christ. In her book, The Broken Way, Ann Voskamp writes, "The way through brokenness is, and always has been, to break the sufferer free from the aloneness of suffering by choosing to participate in the suffering with them." A few months ago, I came up with the idea to have my girls write their stories down and to put them into a book. The finished product went far beyond my expectations. Beautiful stories were written, many filled with various kinds of hardship, but each story ended with the way the women on Beatty 300 had acted out Christ's love for one another when they needed it the most. One girl wrote, "When I wasn't feeling okay, God kept me alive through the girls on this floor. I was lavished by his love through the smiles, kind words, hugs, gifts, and cuddles by these girls." Another said, "Thank you for being there for me when I needed it most. Thank you for unknowingly helping me through so much doubt in myself and my relationship with God." And another said, "In a time when I struggled to lean into God, thank you for being his hands and voice." The women on my floor offered their hurting and broken selves to one another, and in doing so, they broke the stronghold of suffering by becoming a community of sufferers. Now, I know commencement is supposed to be a joyous time of celebration, and that's probably what you're hoping to hear from me, but bear with me as I lament for a little while longer before getting to the celebratory stage. Graduates, our world is a messy place. Look around you. The people around us are going through incredibly hard things, and even further, each and every one of us have experienced suffering of our own kind while at Northwest. In the midst of this chaos, our response as God's people is not to come up with an explanation for the suffering in or around us. Rather, the best response we could ever give this broken world is to offer our broken selves to create communities around suffering people. Jesus is our greatest example of this. Christ came down and broke himself for us. He laid down his life, and in doing so, showed us that the greatest act in the universe is the suffering of a broken-hearted love. When we offer our broken selves to this broken world, we become the hands and feet of Christ. Graduates, we are a community of co-sufferers. I have experienced God's love for me through the interactions I've had with so many of you, but not just me. The students at this school have been deeply impacted as a result of the bold love you offer to it. Joshua DeShazer, I have never had a conversation with you that didn't start out with you asking me how I am. Even in the midst of you trying to finish your senior year and find a job for next year, you intentionally cared for each and every one of us. Thank you for seeing the people around you. Junior Castro Seguenza, on countless occasions in the last year that I have known you, I have seen you drop to your knees and pray for those around you. Thank you for meeting us in the midst of our suffering and pointing us towards Jesus. RJ Garza and Lauren Curry, you are deeply generous and intentional, always willing to go out of your way to bring people joy. In the busyness of this last year, thank you for being consistent in the little things. Luba Bernick, you offer genuine conversations. Zachary Bates and Courtney Hudak, you meet people where they are. Janelle Kono, you see the unseen. And Nathan Kennedy, you offer the truth of Christ to those around you. Graduates, in your time at Northwest, you have offered your broken selves to this community. You have made the love of Christ present to each and every one of us. Now, I've talked a lot about the brokenness of this world, but the reality is we also live in the gift of hope. Although we are not promised mountaintops at every point in our lives, we are promised victory. There is a hope in each of our lives, and Christ knows our ultimate destination. In other words, as we offer our broken selves, caring in communities and doing the work of the gospel, go boldly. A city on a hill is made up of many individual lights, each doing their part to be the light of the gospel. Now, it took me a while to see this on my own path. In August, I'm moving to Boston to begin a PhD program studying viruses. To be frank, I am utterly and completely terrified. And for a long time, I really didn't want to go. I love this place, and I love these people. And when I only received offers from 2 schools that were both on the East Coast, I had a really hard time accepting the fact that I'd be leaving my people for the next 5 years. But as I was flying home from one of my interviews, I heard God asking me, "Do you love me enough to go where I call you?" I had to come to the conclusion that God was calling me on mission to Harvard. He was calling me on mission to the science community. He was calling me to offer my fearful and weary and broken self to people who had never experienced the love of Christ. But plot twist, about a month ago, I received an unexpected last-minute offer of admission from the University of Washington, my dream school. They'd already rejected me, so to say I was surprised is a bit of an understatement. I had about 1 week to sit and decide between Harvard and the University of Washington, the top first and third PhD programs in microbiology in the world. I prayed, and I asked a lot of questions, and I wrestled back and forth. But in the end, I chose Harvard. I chose Harvard because I knew God was calling me to walk forward in my fear, in my nervousness, in my inevitable loneliness in a new city, and to offer my broken self to those who so desperately need to know the King who broke himself for them. Friends, this is our mission. This is our call. To be a light to the world, to love boldly, to be faithful in the little, to see people and love them. And friends, from what I can tell, we're going to do just that. I spent the last few weeks asking our class how they plan to use their degrees to impact the world around us, and the dreams I heard from this class were incredible. Just as an example, Sammy Price, graduating with a degree in psychology, said she plans to use the power of Jesus with professional tools to heal people and deliver them from emotional trauma and mental illness. In graduating with a degree in English, Abigail Lawrence plans on partnering with God through teaching to heal the brokenhearted, encourage the afraid, and love those who don't know what it's like to be loved. And Mariah Savage, graduating with a degree in political science, says she wants to remind people that they are not alone in their joy and in their pain, and plans on caring for people in this way through law enforcement. Friends, don't fear the brokenness and hardship that will inevitably come our way as we head into this world. Follow the lead of Christ and fill the brokenness of this world with your own broken-hearted love. May we, as hearers, flower givers, and meal bringers, give hope in the lunchroom, grace in the staff meeting, and rest at the end of the day. May we be the ones who show up, the ones who offer a place at the table. May we offer our broken selves to guide people to our hope, our salvation, and our joy in Christ. Amen.